No one spoke when the human entered the throne chamber. Not the guards. Not the advisors. Not even the royal executioner. The chamber itself seemed to hold its breath. The hall was massive, tall enough for a starship to stand upright inside it. Pillars of black crystal stretched toward a ceiling that shimmered with faint purple light. Between the pillars stood dozens of alien warriors clad in silver armor, their glowing eyes fixed on the single human walking across the polished floor. Chains hung from the human's wrists, but he walked calmly. His name was Daniel Carter, and according to the Velryth Empire, he had committed a crime worthy of royal punishment. At the far end of the hall sat the one being who decided the fate of entire worlds. Queen Erithra. She was taller than any soldier in the room, her presence both elegant and terrifying. Her skin shimmered like dark starlight, and her armor, crafted from living alien metal, moved slowly across her body as if it were breathing. Her violet eyes studied the human with quiet curiosity. Daniel stopped 10 meters from the throne. The guards forced him to his knees. But he didn't look afraid, which immediately annoyed the royal advisor standing beside the queen. "Your Majesty," the advisor hissed. "This is the human responsible for the incident on Outpost Sigma." The queen rested her chin lightly on one hand. "Is he?"
Yes.
He interfered with imperial enforcement and freed several prisoners scheduled for interrogation. Daniel spoke before anyone else could. They weren't prisoners. The guards immediately pressed their weapons against his shoulders. "Silence," one growled. But the queen raised a hand. "Let him speak." Daniel glanced up. "They were civilians," he said calmly. "Mining workers. You were about to execute them for being in the wrong place." The advisor's eyes flashed with anger. They were trespassing in imperial territory. "They were mining rocks," Daniel replied. "Pretty harmless crime." A murmur rippled through the chamber. The queen tilted her head slightly. "You speak boldly for someone awaiting punishment." Daniel shrugged. "Well, I'm already here." That earned a few quiet snorts from soldiers trying very hard not to laugh. The advisor looked horrified. The queen, however, seemed amused. "The crime. Explain what happened on Sigma Outpost," the queen said. Daniel sighed. "All right." He glanced around the chamber before continuing. "I was repairing a cargo shuttle when your soldiers arrived. They rounded up everyone on the station and accused them of trespassing." "They were," the advisor snapped. "On a rock floating in empty space," Daniel said. "Pretty big rock, too." The queen raised one elegant finger. "Continue." Daniel nodded. "Anyway, they lined everyone up and announced they'd be executed as a warning." Gasps echoed quietly from some younger soldiers. Even in the Velryth Empire, summary execution wasn't always comfortable to hear about. "So, I did what any reasonable person would do," Daniel continued. The queen leaned forward slightly. "And what was that?" "I sabotaged the gravity generators." The chamber erupted with shocked whispers. Even the queen's expression changed slightly. "You disabled an entire outpost?" "Only temporarily," Daniel said. "Everyone floated around for about 5 minutes. Long enough for the miners to escape in their ships." The queen's lips twitched faintly. "That is creative." The advisor nearly exploded. "Your Majesty, this human interfered with imperial justice and caused massive damage to government property." Daniel shrugged again. "Technically, it was already broken." "You admit your guilt?"
Yeah.
The advisor pointed dramatically. "You see? Even he confesses." The queen remained silent for a long moment. Then she asked a question no one expected. "Why?" Daniel blinked. "Why what? Why risk your life for strangers?" He looked genuinely confused. "Because they needed help." The queen stared at him. "You did not know them. Didn't matter. They were not your people." "Still people," The chamber grew quiet again. The Queen's judgment. The advisor cleared his throat. Your Majesty, the punishment for interference with imperial authority is clearly defined. Yes, the Queen said calmly. Execution. Daniel nodded slowly. Figured. The Queen stood from her throne. The room instantly fell silent. When she walked forward, the soldiers stepped aside without hesitation. Her armor glowed faintly as she approached the kneeling human. Daniel looked up at her. You're taller in person, he said. The guards tightened their grips on their weapons. But the Queen simply studied him. You show very little fear. Daniel shrugged again. It's been a weird week. A few soldiers actually chuckled. The advisor looked like he might faint. The Queen circled Daniel slowly, examining him from different angles like a scientist studying a rare specimen. Humans are physically fragile, she said thoughtfully. Thanks. Your species is technologically behind ours. Also true, yet you stood against armed soldiers. Daniel sighed. They were about to shoot civilians. That is not your concern. Kind of felt like it was. She stopped in front of him. And now you face death. Daniel met her gaze. Yeah. And you regret nothing? He thought about it. I regret the shuttle I was fixing. That repair job took 3 hours. For the first time, the Queen smiled. Just slightly. The unexpected question. The advisor stepped forward urgently. Your Majesty, the sentence must be delivered. The Queen didn't look away from Daniel. Yes. She considered him carefully. You are unusual. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Is that good? For you? She paused. Perhaps not. The chamber grew tense. The Queen lifted her hand. The executioner stepped forward. Daniel watched calmly. Well, he muttered. This escalated quickly. But before the executioner could act, the Queen suddenly spoke again. Human. Yeah. Do you have a mate? The entire chamber froze. Daniel blinked. What? The advisor looked like his brain had stopped working. The Queen repeated the question. Are you bonded to another? Daniel scratched the back of his head. You mean, am I married? Yes. No. The Queen tilted her head thoughtfully. And no romantic partner? Nope. She considered this information. Then she said something that would be whispered across the empire for decades. Interesting. The punishment. The advisor cleared his throat again, desperately trying to restore order. Your Majesty, the sentence. Yes, the Queen interrupted. The sentence. She turned back to Daniel. You interfered with imperial law. Correct. You damaged government property. Technically fixed it later. You embarrassed my soldiers. Daniel smiled faintly. That part was fun. The Queen folded her arms. Your punishment will reflect the severity of these crimes. The chamber went completely silent. Daniel took a deep breath. All right. The Queen leaned closer. So close that her glowing eyes filled his entire vision. And then she said the most unexpected sentence in imperial history. You will work for me. Daniel blinked. What? You will serve as my personal advisor. The chamber erupted in chaos. The advisor shouted in disbelief. Your Majesty, that is absurd. The Queen raised one finger. Silence instantly returned. She looked down at Daniel. You have demonstrated 3 qualities rare in my empire. Oh, courage. Daniel nodded slowly. Recklessness. Fair. And moral independence. Daniel frowned slightly. That's a fancy way of saying I ignore orders. Exactly. She straightened. My empire has many loyal soldiers. The advisor puffed up proudly. But very few individuals willing to challenge authority. Daniel raised an eyebrow. You're hiring me because I'm a troublemaker? Yes. Well, that's new. Life in the royal court. Daniel Carter's new position caused absolute chaos within the Velryth Empire. For centuries, the royal court had been a place of strict order and tradition. Now there was a human walking around casually drinking coffee and questioning everything. Within a week, he had already asked why the imperial fleet wasted energy on decorative lighting, suggested improving cargo efficiency by 40%, accidentally insulted 3 high-ranking generals, and taught the queen how to play chess. The last one caused the most confusion. Why do humans enjoy strategic games? The queen asked during one session. Because we like beating people. She moved a piece. And you believe you can beat me? Daniel grinned. I already have twice. The queen narrowed her glowing eyes. Rematch. The real problem. Despite this strange partnership, tensions in the empire were growing. Several advisors believed the queen's interest in a human was dangerous. One evening, the chief military advisor confronted her. This human influences your decisions. He offers perspective. He challenges authority. Yes. That is dangerous. The queen looked out the window at the stars. Or necessary. Meanwhile, Daniel was completely unaware of the political storm forming around him. He was busy fixing a broken transport shuttle. Again. You know, he muttered to the mechanic beside him, I think they break these on purpose. The conspiracy. 2 weeks later, everything exploded. Literally. An assassination attempt targeted the Queen's transport ship. The explosion rocked the hangar. Soldiers rushed everywhere. But Daniel noticed something strange. That blast pattern, he said slowly. What about it? A guard asked. That wasn't an external attack. The guard frowned. What are you saying? Daniel pointed at the damaged engine core. That bomb was planted inside. Which meant the attacker was someone in the court. The truth. Hours later, Daniel stood beside the queen in the investigation chamber. You figured it out quickly, she said. Engineering instincts. He showed her the sabotage device. This wasn't meant to destroy the ship. No. It was meant to scare you. Why? Political pressure. She looked thoughtful. You believe someone wants me to remove you? Daniel nodded. Because I'm inconvenient. The queen smiled slightly. They are correct. The final twist. Later that night, the queen addressed the entire court. Her voice echoed through the grand chamber. An attempt was made on my life. Gasps spread through the crowd. The saboteur believed removing my human advisor would restore traditional authority. The advisors shifted nervously. The queen continued calmly. They were mistaken. She turned toward Daniel. This human has proven something important. Oh boy, Daniel muttered. Empires grow stagnant when no one challenges them. The room remained silent. And therefore, the queen concluded, his punishment will continue. Daniel looked confused. My punishment? Yes. You will remain here. For how long? The queen smiled again. Indefinitely. Daniel sighed. Worst punishment ever. The queen leaned closer and whispered something only he could hear. If you were single earlier, human. Daniel blinked. I am. She smirked. Interesting. Across the chamber, the advisors looked horrified, because the human who was supposed to be executed had just become the most influential person in the empire. And no one knew what would happen next.